We are Mike and Jeannie, and we restore old houses. In 2021, we moved to South Carolina and bought a 120-year-old Victorian house. Follow along as we put the polish back on this Victorian masterpiece.
A very warm welcome from 1834 Restoration House, and a special thank you to all of you who are new subscribers.
We sure appreciate you stopping by, and for those of you who've been with us for a long time, we really appreciate you guys too for making this channel what it is today. If it wasn't for you guys, we'd just be doing this all by ourselves and nobody would ever know, but we're glad you're here. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're doing kind of a retrospective. We had some people ask if we could go back and look at some of the things that we've done before and do kind of a before and after comparison. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you back in time in our little time machine, and we're going to show you what this place looked like before and show you what we've done to it. So we'll walk around the property and go inside the house, and we'll take a look at some interesting things and maybe some things that you've forgotten about. It'll be a fun time for all of us. These brick planters, they look like they've always been here, but they were only built last summer. When we first moved into this house, there were a bunch of scrubby looking shrubs along here. Take a look.
And we have the keys.
Yes, we do.
Hi! We get to go inside this time. I'm loving this.
Oh yeah. This is one of those projects that started off small and ended up being much larger than we ever expected it to. We call that project creep around here. Well, Jeannie wanted the bushes taken out and she wanted some good landscaping put in. So we started digging these out. We used the tractor and we did some pulling. And what we discovered is we kept finding bricks in two lines that went along like this. And then the further we dug down, we found this brick thing here too. We got to looking at it and we realized that this was part of an old water drainage system that was with the house way back in the old days. And this was part of a brick planter. So we figured out what was here and we decided to go ahead and replicate that and make a new one. I was really afraid of the soil here because here in the south we have a lot of clay. And when clay gets dry, it's like concrete. When we first moved in here, there was a dog run that straddled the property line between our property and the neighbor's property over here. And that's because the original owner used to own both of these houses, and she took a few liberties about crossing boundaries and whatnot. But anyway, it was terrible, it was ugly, it was like 5 layers of fence fabric, and you can still see some of the T-posts here. But we pulled our side out, and then later on our new neighbors moved in, and they also pulled their side out as well. So this area here is slowly getting cleaned up. But take a look and see what we were up against. Whoever built this thing really did a good job. It does not want to come apart. Yeah, those nails are thick. They're thicker than framing nails. Wow. One of the reasons we were attracted to this house in the first place is this. We call this the mystery structure, and there's pillars out here, so clearly at one point there was some kind of historic structure that may possibly predate this house. But we didn't know exactly what it was. When we arrived here, it was completely engulfed in foliage. So take a look and see what it was like back when we got here. Those of you who've been watching for a long time will remember the mystery structure. Back in here. It's brick, and it has wooden doors on it. Nobody knows what it is. Well, today we're going to try to unearth this thing. We have this big bush in the way, and we're going to start chopping this out and see if we can gain access to it. Well, it's a lot cleaner now than it was We still have a lot of work to do, but we now know what this thing was because we found some historical data that tells us what the history of this place was and who was doing what and when. So we're going to reveal that to you in a future episode. This is a 1960s electrical panel, kind of old, and that's what we had when we got here. But that's not all. Inside the house are fuse boxes, knife switches, and all kinds of crazy Victorian era electrical circuits. Always make sure it's cold before you stick your hands in there. One of the things that we absolutely had to do to this house was upgrade the electrical system. So we put in a brand new meter box, a brand new breaker box, and replaced some of the critical circuits that are going to different parts of the house. Now, as it stands today, there are still a lot of knob and tube type wires in the house that need to be replaced, and we'll get to those as we can.
In this area, when we first bought the house, there was carpet, this gold plush carpet, dirty and nasty. It went all the way up the stairs, all the way to the top, and it was also in the dining room. Take a look at this. Oh, this is so much nicer without the cardboard. There is so much more space. Love it. On to the next project, curtains. Let's go hang some. When we decided to pull up the carpet, we were not sure what we were going to find. We didn't know if there was wood floors under there or if it was just plywood of some kind. Same with the stairs. When we pulled it off the stairs, we weren't sure if there was just going to be planks of wood. And same with the dining room. We didn't know how the floor condition in any of these areas was going to be when we took up the carpet. To our surprise, the padding underneath was still in pretty good condition, and the floors were fantastic.
I'm seeing some beautiful wood under here. Oh yeah. We're going to have a lot of staples that need to be pulled up. But there you go. Look at that. How about that, people? Yeah, that is heart pine right there.
We need to refinish them, but at least that's an option. It looks really good. Really good condition. Very happy with that one.
In the years that we've been married, we've restored several houses. And we've always had one standing rule that we always follow, and that is when we get a new house to restore, we always create at least one space that is fresh, clean, and kind of a sanctuary away from the rest of the house where we can just relax. Well, for us, that was this room. This is serving as a bedroom right now, and it's the only room in the house that has sheetrock walls. For some reason, they put sheetrock over the plaster. I have a good idea why, but we won't know until we pull it apart sometime down the road. But when we got here, the walls were this dingy pale blue color, covered in mildew. It was just gross. And so the first thing we had to do was kill the mildew and then apply some paint. Take a look. These walls are completely covered in mildew. It's all over the place. Go ahead and do a tight shot here. You can see spots of mildew everywhere. Now the house sat vacant for a long time. Moisture got in here, and we went through hot seasons and cold seasons, and mildew just loves to grow under those conditions. Give it a good scrub. I can see the dirt and stuff coming off already. Wow.
I'm gonna let you get over there.
Right away you'll notice that it's more blue than the original paint. Everybody thinks the old paint was a robin's egg blue, and that is generally true until you put a blue up against it, and you can really see just how much green was in that. We love this shade of blue. It's much nicer than the other blue that was underneath it. But we also painted the ceiling.
As we went to get the paint started, we took the lid off and it was the wrong paint. Somehow when he was mixing the paint, he switched the lids. So at least we do have still the right paint, but the wrong lid on the wrong paint can.
There was a lot of controversy about that. People weren't sure if it was going to turn out good, but it actually worked pretty well, and even to this day still looks great.
When we bought this house, there was no laundry hookups. Can you believe it? Well, we couldn't believe it at first. We looked all over twice trying to find it. There aren't any. So we had to install all of the laundry facility. And I love the way it turned out. This is what it used to look like. This is going to be our laundry room. What do we do first?
Well, we have to put the washer and dryer on that wall because we don't want to block the door and the window. We also don't want to block the air conditioning duct down here.
Okay.
But we have to get all the utilities up into this area or out of this area. The first thing we're doing is applying some purple primer, which cleans the plastic and makes it to where it can accept the glue. We did a little bit of testing and dry fitting to see exactly where things should be, and we really don't know exactly for sure, but we think that if we put this right here, that it will probably work out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the pipe. I have to remove a section of it. Jeannie really enjoys home canning. This was a shoe closet when we moved in here, and that was about all it was good for, was to put shoes in and a couple of other odds and ends. But she really needed a space where she could put her home canning and her jars and supplies and whatnot. So we built this shelving unit here completely from scratch, and we built it super, super strong so it can handle the weight of anything that's going to go on it, including me. I've actually stood on it myself.
In here is going to be the new space. All of this stuff, we're going to take all of this stuff out. These shelves on this first level, we're going to take all of that out as well. There's shelf space down here on the bottom, and we're going to take that out. And he's going to build some shelves in here so that we can put up canning jars and store them in here. That way they're not stacked anymore. We have a problem. This room is not square. The top two shelves are barely touching the support. We're gonna have to take these 1x2s off of here and replace them with 2x2s, and that way the board will actually fit properly and it'll support everything we need it to fit.
This kitchen back here was added in the mid-century, and it wasn't quite up to par with the rest of the house construction, but it got the job done. But one of the things we found is up in the attic above this kitchen, squirrels had been getting in there and running around for years, and they chewed up lumber, they chewed up electrical wiring. We found all kinds of problems. You want to see something scary? Take a look at this. All right. So here's a junction box. It's fairly modern. It's blue, the kind that you buy at the home centers. Look at that. The wire nut's gone. Where's the wire nut? Squirrel ate the entire wire nut. This other wire nut here is partially eaten, but they just love plastic. They love aluminum. They love copper. I don't know why, but they do. I am cutting this armored cable. And I'm going to do it in two places. Now we can spin the insulation out like that. And and then make a cut in the wires, and then the insulation just comes right off, leaving us with a tail. Now that the wiring up there is all fresh and modern, we don't have to lose sleep over it anymore. This is one of our upstairs bedrooms, and we've really focused our attention on this room more than any other in the house because it seemed like a good candidate for restoration. We've done a lot of things in here. So first of all, the fireplace mantle. It's got this beautiful oak wood here, but it hasn't always looked this good. Take a look at how it was when we first moved in here. This is about 20 minutes worth of work with the speed heater, just very carefully stripping the paint off. Now, the paint that was on there is latex. It's modern paint, and it wasn't very thick. This room had other problems too. The wallpaper in here was literally falling off the walls, and we had to do something about it, which unfortunately means taking it off. And we pulled it off, not knowing what to expect. Well, take a look and see what we found. Well, the plaster was basically in good condition mechanically, but it looked horrible. So we ended up spending several weeks trying to refresh the plaster, and we had all kinds of problems trying to learn the process of doing it correctly and using the right materials, but we finally got it worked out, and this is the result of what we have today. Nice, smooth plaster.
It's looking really good, my love.
We are planning to put wallpaper back in this room, and so we grabbed a wallpaper sample and threw it up here. And this is what it could look like potentially. Last year, there was a time when we thought we might have to sell the house and move, but fortunately, we were able to stay. But before that, we had to do a lot of things to the house to make it sale ready. And one of the things was taking this room, which was stark white, dirty, dingy, and disgusting. Everything in here was white except for the floor, which is kind of a dark wood color. But it looked terrible. And so what we did is we came in here and we painted the walls white, got that cleaned up, and we painted the woodwork brown. Now, why did we paint the woodwork brown? Because it was stark white. Somebody had already painted it, and this gave it a little more contrast and made it look more interesting. I can't understand why, with such a beautiful house as this is, would somebody come in here and paint every square inch of this room white? Well, we don't like it. It looks better than it did, but still not the look that we're after. We're after a look that is warm, rich, and beautiful. And the only way to get that is to strip all of the paint off the woodwork and then refinish it. Strip all the paint off the walls, repair the plaster, and then put wallpaper up. That's what it's going to take to make this room look good. But when we do, it's going to be spectacular. Well, it's time to close the video now. And I thought it would be fun to do something a little different here. This is the pile of wood that we use for our projects. We have various hardwoods and softwoods here, and we're thinking of things to build, but what do you think about that smell?
Oh, the cedar is incredible. Every time you come up or down the stairs, come near the stairs, you can get this faint whiff of it. Oh, it smells so good. I love it. Well, thank you for watching 1834 Restoration House. I have a question for you. Which is your favorite restoration project we've done? And which was the most interesting? Leave a comment, hit the like button, and we'll see you next week.